funny looking back and thinking there were events going on in this churchyard and how pristine it all looked and how much more of a sort of natural outlook it is this year with the way everything's been left to its own devices during the pandemic. I love the way people are wording this during the pandemic as if it's older, as if it's over. Watch this space, I say. I'm catching myself out, and certainly with the way that I unwillingly absorb certain aspects of the media's bile that they pump out with regards to stuff that people share on Facebook and the like. I don't have anything to do with the mainstream or the alternative media because it's all agenda driven. But the amount of people who are using subtle terms and the way they put things like, during the pandemic, it ain't gone anywhere. We're soon going to see that. It really hasn't gone anywhere. And look on buses, you probably won't see anyone on these, but no one's wearing masks. They're all not mandated to or anything, but they're being highly requested and advised, wear a mask. People have got it in their head, well, we've heard it don't protect you. Yeah, but it might protect others if you're asymptomatic and all that kind of malarkey. Don't know if you just saw that, but dickhead of the century, Carlos Fandango, just drove past, overtaking people on a really busy road. I'm going to answer a few questions kind of individually in a sec. So I think that some comments that people make deserve a little bit more than just a 5-second text response from me. If I'm going to moan about people not commenting when they do and they offer a little bit of their heart, it's the right thing to do, to offer it a bit of time and a proper answer. On reflection, it isn't a series of comments that I'm going to answer to, but just one. Thanks so much for all the kind words and offers of help, even with regards to my bank situation. It's all been sorted out, it's all covered, I'll get it all back. It's just a question of waiting for a new card. But I looked at comments about sort of 2-3 in the morning, and mistakenly in my sort of sleepiness I've woken up thinking that there was a series of comments I wanted to answer, but it was one from a guy called Paul G. I don't know what video it was, but I don't think it really matters. He said, "Some days I'm afraid of the thought that somebody will speak to me at the shop. Others I love interaction and look forward to it. This is why my particular mental health problems make it difficult to have friends or see family, because I'm unpredictable. I can't make arrangements because I don't know how I'll feel the next week, so I'm seen as awkward. I used to use drugs and alcohol to manage my moods, and they made life easier, but started affecting my health and are no longer an option. I did a deal with my mental health care worker where I would stay completely sober and they would get me help, or they would help. I've kept my side for years, but they've done very little, and the drugs that they offered were worse than the illicit ones I was taking with regards to side effects and usefulness. I've had 2 botched suicide attempts, and in hospital they said I should have told them that things were getting this bad. I pointed out that my wife and I did so on several occasions. I hope things get sorted for you." Paul, years ago, I worked in an environment which was dangerous, to say the least, and the cleanliness standards were atrocious. We didn't have anywhere to go to the toilet, wash our hands, nowhere to eat, nothing, and we were handling hazardous recyclable material, garden waste, compost, nasty, rotting food and flesh and tin cans and banana peel, and I contacted the health and safety executive. Now, the company I worked for was a leading light in environmentalism. Even back in the 1990s, when I was having these issues, environmentalism was seen as a sort of thorn in the side of the authorities, but they were very keen to be seen to be supportive of it, and thus the health and safety executive came to see this community-based recycling project, which had the illusion of being very kind of ramshackle and voluntary, but we were all paid. It was a for-profit organisation, as much as the boss used to try and say otherwise. And as such, the HSE, Health and Safety Executive, came to look at the project. I'd contacted them anonymously. There were only 3 full-time workers there, one of which was me. So you can imagine the awkward position I was in, but I feared for my life. I feared for the life of others. And that's not an exaggeration. Health and Safety Executive said, well, what you need to do is get a blanket and put it over a swing frame and put a bucket underneath it. Get some hand gel and you can eat in your vans. But what an amazing thing you're doing here. You're saving the planet. You guys are true heroes. So instead of our safety being acknowledged, the boss got a pat on the back. We were collecting garden waste on the top of a grain trailer. We were quite often 20 feet above the ground, emptying sacks by shaking them. You know, there was no legal limit as to the amount people could put outside their houses. We were doing a dangerous job, and a very publicly dangerous job. As you can imagine, it was a curbside collection. Now, why am I talking about this? The Health and Safety Executive, as I discovered, are misnamed. They should not be called the Health and Safety Executive. They should be called the Fatal Accident Investigation Agency. That would be their correct term. So that's the only time they will ever turn their sights to getting anything done. There's got to have been a death. Now, I've experienced suicide in my life very close to me very recently and a number of times in the past. And we all, and by we, it's not some sarcastic, passive-aggressive finger-pointing thing. I'm saying we all see that person who passed and we think, why didn't they tell us? And there have been numerous occasions in my life where, well, I say numerous, it hasn't been that many, but there's been a few occasions in my life where I thought all the signs were there, and it happens again. All the signs are there, and it happens again. All the signs are there with knobs on, and it happens again. People just don't give, they care, but we're not calibrated to deal with other people's mental issues. It just is as simple as that. You know, I, at the risk of sounding so colossally arrogant, go and see mental health care professionals with everything that's occurred in my life. You know, I know I don't fit into this society, but this society is so sick. I'm not sure me being seen as, or by my own admission, not well enough to participate successfully in it at this point in time probably means that I'm a little bit more well than I am unwell. I find it very difficult dealing with mental health care professionals because some people have got a born gift, all right? You know, yours might be playing the guitar, it might be being a public speaker. Mine, for some reason or other, is just basic psychology. I can see through BS at a moment's notice. I can seemingly be eloquent about things on a psychological level that I know nothing about. It's just something that flows in me. Don't take any responsibility for it or any credit for it. It just is something I've got going on. And when you're dealing with mental health care professionals who seem to know less than you do on a sort of base level, that you just, from your perceptions of how life has treated you and what you've seen other people and yourself go through, when you feel like you're more qualified than they are to help, it's a very difficult situation. I don't know if you can relate to that, Paul. But it's terrible hearing your testimony, and it is just so common. And as for not being able to arrange anything, it's not just a day-to-day thing, is it? When you think, well, I can't make an arrangement for next week. It's a moment-to-moment thing. I know what it's like when your mood can alter in an instant. I go from Captain America levels of confidence to just thinking the world is crumbling around my ears and people genuinely despise me. You know, in a moment's notice, click of a finger, blink of an eye. It's a very tough world to operate in because the whole system is geared towards being passive-aggressive. People not telling you to your face the truths of situations, but then getting letters at a later date. The passive-aggressive nature of the way we should all care for one another, and there are still people living out of bins and sleeping on the streets. No, we don't care about each other. You know, look back to the early part of the century. We've got to respect all of the minorities in the world and all of the religions, but there was a complete subconscious hate campaign against the Muslims because of what happened in New York and Washington on September the 11th, 2001. You know, there's just so much out there that contradicts narratives and stories that we're all taught to trust and be a part of. And the mental health care situation is just that. There are people who've got 6 years of experience for sure, going to school and going to medical school, but they haven't got any practical understanding of the subject in hand. You know, I can learn back to front the works of Shakespeare, but does it make me the bard? No, it doesn't. You know, there are far too many people in the world who can academic a good story, as it were. They can academic a good level of sympathy and understanding, but they have no empathic powers whatsoever. You know, it's a sad and painful situation. I think a lot of people, all of us in general, watching this video suffer it. Where you just think, no, I don't. It's not that I could be bent back into shape. The shape of the system is wrong in the first place. It isn't me who is showing symptoms of sickness. I'm probably showing symptoms of wellness in the way I react to this world. And yeah, it makes everything impossible. It makes it, you know, I honestly now cannot imagine getting back to any kind of normality where I fit in or can function, because the foundations of our system, of what's considered well, happy and well adjusted, is so broken and so ill that I just don't know what. Well, I do know what. You know, that's the irony. I do know what in this world, but there's one way to act in this world. There's one system to obey. There's one way of living, and if you don't, you're screwed. It's all very well. There's, you know, people you can watch, the idealists who've got their couple of million under their belt and they go and live off grid in the rainforest or something like that. Yeah, sure, there's a number of us who'd like to do that, but it takes money. Yeah, I could go on for hours about the mental health care system, the euphemistic lies of apparent concern that the system shows us all. And I'd like to, as a disclaimer here, I've met some wonderful people, my GP included, who got so much time for with how they've tried to help me and make sure that I don't go under at tough times with regards to ways in which they can say, right, system, back off and leave him alone. You know, there's some lovely people out there, but it's, you know, the overlords and the system itself are so corrupt. Anyway, Paul, God bless, mate. Lots of love.